The smell reaches us before anything else. Fresh coffee drifts from an open kitchen window. Somewhere nearby, bacon crackles softly in a cast iron pan. The air is cool and carries a hint of damp pavement left behind by the night. The sun is only beginning to rise. We stand on a quiet Detroit street in 1968. The houses sit close together, still wrapped in long shadows. Porch lights glow faintly. Curtains move behind front windows. A screen door creaks open and then gently closes again. For a moment, everything feels still. Then the city begins to stir. A newspaper lands against a front step with a sharp slap. A dog barks once from a fenced yard. Far away, an engine turns over and settles into a low rumble. You can almost hear the city taking its first deep breath of the day. The morning light slides across rows of brick homes. It catches chrome bumpers parked along the curb. Tiny drops of dew sparkle on neatly trimmed lawns. A man steps outside wearing a work shirt and polished shoes. He pauses for a second, coffee mug in hand, looking down the street. Another neighbor waves from a porch without saying a word. It is the kind of greeting that happens every morning. Familiar, comfortable, expected. The city around us is enormous, but right here the world feels small. Children are still asleep upstairs. Mothers move quietly through kitchens. Radios begin to hum behind closed windows. The day is waiting patiently for everyone to join it. In 1968, Detroit is one of America's great industrial cities. But at this hour, before the factories fill and the traffic grows, it feels less like a giant city and more like a neighborhood waking together. The sky brightens a little more. The coffee is hot, the air is cool, and an ordinary day is just beginning. The day stretches out in front of us. Right now, the streets are quiet. The sun is low. Most of the city is still rubbing sleep from its eyes. But if we stay here, if we follow these streets 1 hour at a time, we will watch an entire day unfold. You and I are going to live one full day in Detroit in 1968. We will see the morning rush begin. We will walk along busy sidewalks at noon. We will spend an ordinary afternoon with a family at home. And when darkness finally arrives, we will stand beneath glowing neon signs and watch the city settle into another evening. There is no special event waiting for us, no famous moment, just a normal day, and sometimes those are the days worth remembering most. Because ordinary days are where life really happens. They are where memories quietly form. A conversation on a porch, a lunch counter filled with familiar faces, the sound of children racing home before supper. The things nobody thinks to save because they seem like they will always be there. That is the second journey we are taking. Today, not just through the hours, but through a world that is already beginning to change. You cannot see it clearly yet. Most people living this day cannot see it either. The streets still feel permanent. The stores still seem busy. The neighborhoods still feel full of life. Yet small changes are already moving beneath the surface. For now, though, none of that matters. The city is waking up and there is a whole day ahead of us. If you enjoy walking back into these forgotten times, consider subscribing to The Way We Were so you don't miss the next journey. The morning light grows brighter. More doors open. More engines start. And somewhere down the block, a radio begins playing the soundtrack of another ordinary American day. Let's follow it from sunrise all the way to nightfall. The city is fully awake now. The quiet of dawn slips away minute by minute. Front doors open across the neighborhood. Screen doors clap shut behind hurried footsteps. The smell of breakfast hangs in the cool morning air. We walk down a residential street as sunlight spreads across rows of brick homes. Cars line the curbs. Their chrome catches the early light and flashes like tiny mirrors. Somewhere nearby, a lawn sprinkler clicks steadily across fresh grass. The sounds grow stronger with every block. A radio plays through an open window. A mother calls. Upstairs, that breakfast is getting cold. Dishes rattle in kitchens. A dog strains against a leash, eager for its morning walk. Nothing feels rushed yet. The day is gathering itself. A boy pedals a bicycle down the sidewalk with newspapers tucked beneath one arm. He tosses one neatly onto a porch without slowing down. A few houses later, he misses. The paper lands in a flower bed. He laughs, circles back, and tries again. Across the street, a man adjusts his tie beside a parked car. He takes one last sip of coffee. Before heading to work, his neighbor is doing almost the same thing. Different house, different family, same morning routine. The neighborhood moves together like a familiar rhythm. You can feel it. One porch light clicks off. Another engine starts. A curtain closes. A garage door rises. Every small action seems connected to the next. Far above us, the sky has turned bright blue. The coolness of dawn is already beginning to fade. The sun warms the pavement beneath our feet. We continue toward a busier road. Traffic is building now. Large sedans glide past. Delivery trucks make their morning rounds. At an intersection, schoolchildren gather in small groups, laughing and trading stories before classes begin. One girl carries her books against her chest, another balances carefully along the curb while waiting to cross. Their voices fill the air for a moment before the crossing signal changes and they disappear down the block. In 1968, Detroit's population is still well over 1 million people, yet mornings often feel surprisingly local. Most faces are familiar, most errands happen close to home, that sense of closeness is everywhere. The corner grocery owner sweeps the sidewalk before opening. A customer stops to chat before heading inside. Neither seems in much of a hurry. The city feels busy. But it also feels personal. We pass a small diner where the breakfast crowd has already arrived. Through the windows, steam rises from coffee cups. Waitresses move between tables carrying plates of eggs and toast. A man sits alone reading the newspaper. Another booth holds 3 factory workers finishing breakfast before their shift. Their conversation blends with the clink of silverware and the soft hum of the room. Outside, the smell of bacon drifts onto the sidewalk. For a second, you can almost taste it. If you grew up in this era, you remember this feeling, a whole day waiting ahead. No notifications, no endless screens, just the simple certainty that morning has arrived and life is happening outside your front door. The streets continue filling, more stores unlock their doors, more children head toward school, more workers join the steady flow moving toward factories, offices, and workshops across the city. The sun climbs higher, the shadows shrink, the pace quickens. What began as a quiet neighborhood morning is becoming something larger. Detroit is stretching awake, and by the time the clock approaches noon, the city will feel completely different from the one we met at sunrise. By noon, the street has changed. The gentle quiet of morning is gone now. In its place comes movement, voices, traffic, the steady pulse of a city fully alive. The sun stands high above Detroit. Its light reflects from storefront windows and polished car roofs. Heat rises softly from the pavement. The sidewalks are crowded with people, moving in every direction, each carrying a small piece of the day's purpose. We step onto Main Street and immediately feel the difference. Store doors open and close without pause. Cash registers ring from inside busy shops. A delivery truck unloads boxes near the curb. The smell of fresh bread drifts from a nearby bakery and mixes with the scent of gasoline and warm asphalt. Everything feels connected, every storefront, every conversation, every familiar face passing by. The city is working. A woman exits a department store carrying a paper shopping bag tucked beneath her arm. A young couple pauses outside a record shop, studying the newest albums displayed in the window. A barber sweeps hair from the floor inside his shop while customers wait their turn. The sidewalks seem to carry an endless stream of stories, most of them ordinary, most of them forgotten, and yet together they create the feeling of an entire era. We stop near a busy intersection. Cars roll past in long lines. The traffic light changes. Engines rumble forward. A city bus kneels at the curb and releases a wave of passengers onto the sidewalk. For a few seconds, everything becomes a blur of motion. Then it settles again. A new rhythm begins. One small fact quietly sits beneath all this activity. In the late 1960s, Detroit remains one of the most important manufacturing centers in America. The work happening throughout the city helps shape products used across the country. But standing here, that fact feels distant. What matters is the human side of it, the faces, the routines, the lives unfolding hour by hour. We continue walking. A drugstore sits on the corner. Inside, a lunch counter is nearly full. Stools spin gently as customers settle into place. The smell of coffee hangs in the air. A waitress refills cups without needing to ask. She already knows who takes cream. She already knows who prefers sugar. That kind of familiarity feels common here. People recognize one another. Not everyone, but enough. Enough to create the feeling that the city belongs to those who live in it. Outside, the afternoon sun grows warmer. Store owners prop open doors to welcome customers. Ceiling fans turn lazily overhead. Window displays sparkle beneath bright daylight. Children on summer break wander in small groups, stopping to admire toys, bicycles, and baseball gloves displayed behind glass. A few blocks away, office workers begin stepping outside for lunch. Some sit on benches beneath scattered trees. Others gather at diners and sandwich shops. Conversations float through the air. Sports, family, weekend plans, the little subjects that fill everyday life. Nothing historic, nothing dramatic. Just people sharing another ordinary afternoon, and somehow that makes it feel even more valuable, because ordinary moments rarely leave records behind. Nobody photographs every lunch break. Nobody saves every casual conversation. Yet these are the moments that often stay with us longest, the feeling of a warm day, the sound of a friend's laughter, the familiar bell above a favorite shop door. If you grew up in this era, you remember these little details. You may not remember exact dates, you may not remember every face, but you remember how places like this felt. That feeling is everywhere around us. The city seems confident, busy, certain of itself. The storefronts are full, the sidewalks are crowded, the future appears wide open, at least from where we stand. Yet beyond the edge of this busy street, small changes are already beginning to gather. Not enough to notice clearly, not yet. For now, Main Street continues its daily performance. The afternoon crowd grows thicker. Sunlight pours through display windows, the lunch rush slowly fades, and the city moves steadily toward the second half of the day. Before long, workers will begin heading home, school doors will open. Families will gather again beneath familiar roofs. The rhythm of Detroit is about to change once more, and as the afternoon arrives, we will follow it there. By late afternoon, the city begins to exhale. The energy of midday softens. The sun still shines brightly, but its light has changed. The sharp brightness of noon gives way to a warmer glow. Shadows stretch longer across sidewalks and front lawns. The air feels calmer now, as if Detroit is settling into a slower rhythm after a busy day. We leave the crowded business district behind and return to the neighborhoods. The sounds are different here. A screen door slams somewhere down the block. A lawn mower hums steadily across a nearby yard. Children's voices drift through the air like birdsong. School has ended. The sidewalks belong to kids again. A group races home carrying books beneath their arms. Two boys toss a baseball back and forth while walking. A little girl hops carefully across cracks in the pavement, turning the sidewalk into an imaginary game. The city feels younger suddenly, lighter, more playful. Front porches begin to fill. A grandmother sits in a shaded chair watching the neighborhood pass by. A neighbor waters flowers along a walkway. Another family unloads groceries from the trunk of a car parked at the curb. Life is moving inward now, back toward home, back toward family. Back toward the places where people truly belong. We walk past an open garage. Inside, a father and son stand beside a car with the hood raised. The father points toward the engine while explaining something. The boy listens carefully, trying to understand every word. Neither seems aware that this simple moment may become a lifelong memory. Many memories begin exactly this way, quietly, without announcement, without importance attached to them at the time. Only years later do they become precious. One small fact lingers beneath this scene. In 1968, many Detroit families are connected directly or indirectly to manufacturing work. Factory schedules often shape the daily rhythm of entire neighborhoods. You can feel that rhythm now. Shift changes are approaching. Workers begin heading home. Traffic grows heavier on roads leading away from industrial areas. Cars stream through intersections. Familiar vehicles appear on familiar streets at familiar times. A neighborhood learns the sound of its own routines. We follow one of those routines into a modest brick home. The smell reaches us first. Dinner is already cooking. Tomato sauce simmers on a stove. Bread warms in the oven. A radio plays softly from another room. The house feels comfortable in the way only lived-in homes can. Nothing is perfect here. Nothing is staged. And that is exactly what makes it beautiful. A mother moves between kitchen counters preparing the evening meal. A child sits at the table finishing homework. Another flips through a comic book while pretending not to be hungry. Outside, a car pulls into the driveway. The family notices immediately. The sound is familiar, expected. The front door opens moments later. A workday has ended. A family is together again. The reunion itself is simple. No dramatic speeches, no grand celebration, just smiles, questions about the day. The ordinary comfort of being home. For a few minutes, the outside world feels very far away. The city continues moving beyond these walls, but inside this house time slows. Dinner plates are set. Chairs scrape gently across the floor. The family gathers around one table, and for a little while, everyone shares the same moment. If you grew up in this era, you remember this sound, the quiet conversation around the dinner table before the evening begins. Not every family is identical. Not every household follows the same routine. But throughout the city, thousands of homes are experiencing some version of this hour together. That shared rhythm creates something powerful. A sense of belonging. A feeling that every street contains stories much like your own. Outside, the sunlight continues. Fading, Children squeeze in a few final minutes of play before supper. Bicycles race toward home. Baseballs are tossed into garages. Jump ropes are gathered from sidewalks. The day is preparing for its next chapter. The golden light settles across rooftops. Porch lights begin appearing one by one. The air cools slightly, and all across Detroit, people start turning their attention toward the evening ahead. Soon the neon signs will glow. The streets will look different once again, and the city that spent all day working will begin to enjoy the night. By evening, Detroit feels like a different city. The heat of the day begins to fade. A cool breeze moves between buildings and down residential streets. The golden sunlight that covered the neighborhoods only moments ago slips below the horizon. One by one, lights begin to appear. Porch lights, street lights, storefront signs. The city starts glowing from within. We walk back toward the busier streets. The sidewalks are still active, but the pace has changed. Nobody seems to be rushing now. The urgency of work has disappeared. People move more slowly. Conversations linger a little longer. The night is just beginning. Ahead of us, neon signs flicker to life, blue, red, gold. Their reflections shimmer across polished car hoods and storefront windows. The bright colors transform familiar streets into something almost magical. A movie theater marquee glows above the sidewalk. People gather beneath it, studying showtimes and deciding what to see. Couples stroll hand in hand. Teenagers laugh together near the entrance, enjoying the freedom that evening brings. The smell of popcorn drifts through the air. Some things never change. A few blocks away, music spills from an open doorway. Not loud, just enough to reach the sidewalk. The sound blends with passing traffic and distant voices. It becomes part of the city's evening soundtrack. Detroit has always been a city connected to music. By the late 1960s, the sounds created here are reaching listeners across America. But standing on this street, the music feels personal, local, part of everyday life. It belongs to the city itself. We continue walking. Restaurant windows glow warmly against the darkness outside. Families gather around tables. Friends share meals and stories from their day. Waitresses move between booths carrying plates that fill the room with comforting aromas. The city feels relaxed now, satisfied, as though it has earned this slower pace after a long day of work. Cars cruise steadily along broad avenues. Their headlights stretch into the distance. Chrome gleams beneath streetlights. Everywhere we look, there is movement, but it is gentler now, more reflective, more human. We pass a neighborhood park where children chase each other through the fading light. Parents watch from benches nearby. Fireflies begin appearing over patches of grass. The sky deepens from blue to purple, then slowly toward black. Above the rooftops, the first stars emerge. People notice them more in 1968 than many of us do today. There are fewer distractions competing for attention, more moments spent simply looking around, more chances to appreciate an ordinary evening. If you grew up in this era, you remember this feeling, the sense that summer nights could last forever, the sense that there was always a little more time before bedtime arrived. We follow a residential street once again. Television sets glow behind curtains and front windows. Families settle into living rooms after dinner. Some watch their favorite programs. Others sit on porches enjoying the cooler air. Neighbors stop to chat. Children linger outside as long as they can. Nobody wants the day to end quite yet. The city seems softer in the dark. The noise settles. The traffic thins. The sharp edges of daytime disappear beneath pools of warm light. For a moment, everything feels steady, permanent, as if tomorrow will arrive exactly the same way. The same streets, the same stores, the same families, the same routines. And perhaps that is what makes this evening so moving to look back on. The people living it do not know what lies ahead. They do not know which buildings will disappear, which businesses will close, which children will one day move away. They only know this moment, this ordinary evening, this familiar city, this comfortable feeling of home. The neon signs continue glowing. The conversations continue drifting through open windows. The city slowly settles beneath the night sky. And as darkness fully arrives, Detroit reaches the end of another day. A day that seemed ordinary at the time. A day that now feels unforgettable. The strange thing about ordinary days is that nobody realizes they are ending. Not while they are living them. As night settles over Detroit in 1968, the city still feels strong. The neighborhoods feel familiar. The storefronts feel permanent. The routines seem certain to repeat forever. But change rarely arrives all at once. It moves quietly. One decision at a time. One family at a time. One street at a time. In the years ahead, new highways continue reshaping how people travel. Shopping centers farther from downtown begin drawing customers away from traditional main streets. Some young people leave familiar neighborhoods in search of new opportunities elsewhere. The changes seem small at first, almost invisible. A favorite store closes. A neighbor moves away. A school has fewer students than it once did. The rhythm remains, but something subtle begins to shift beneath it. Many people hardly notice. Life is busy. Work continues. Families grow. New memories replace old ones. Yet the world we have spent the day walking through slowly becomes harder to find, not because it disappears overnight, but because each year takes away a small piece. A diner closes. A movie theater goes dark. A familiar face is no longer sitting on the porch next door. The feeling changes before the buildings do. That may be the saddest part. Places are more than streets and storefronts. They are habits, voices, relationships, the comforting certainty of knowing where you belong. When those things begin to fade, even a place that still looks familiar can feel different. And yet something remarkable survives. The memories remain, the smell of coffee on a cool morning, the sound of children racing home from school, the glow of neon lights reflected on wet pavement. The ordinary moments endure long after the world that created them has changed. That is why a single day like this still matters. Because it reminds us of what everyday life once felt like. And because somewhere in the hearts of the people who lived it, Detroit in 1968 never completely disappeared. Maybe you remember a street like this. It may not have been Detroit. It may have been a small town hundreds of miles away, or a neighborhood in another city entirely. But as we walked through this day together, perhaps certain moments felt familiar. A porch light glowing at dusk, the sound of a screen door closing, a parent arriving home from work, a bicycle leaning against a front step. Memory has a curious way of working. It often holds on to the smallest details, not the headlines, not the major events, but the things that quietly surrounded everyday life, the smell of dinner cooking in the kitchen, the sound of a favorite radio station, the feeling of summer air drifting through an open window after sunset. Those little moments become anchors. Years pass, entire neighborhoods change. Stores come and go, children grow older and build lives of their own. Yet somehow those simple memories remain exactly where we left them, waiting patiently. Sometimes all it takes is a familiar song or a certain smell to bring them rushing back, and suddenly we are there again, walking the same streets, hearing the same voices, feeling the same sense of comfort we thought was long gone. Perhaps that is why journeys like this matter. They remind us that history is not only made of famous people and important dates, it is also made of ordinary mornings, ordinary afternoons, ordinary evenings. The countless quiet moments that millions of people shared without ever imagining they would one day become history, maybe somewhere. In today's walk, you found a piece of your own story, a memory, a feeling, a face you had not thought about in years, and if you did, then this day in Detroit has given us something far more valuable than facts. It has given us a chance to remember. The lights have gone out in most of the windows now. The streets are quiet again. The same city that greeted us with the smell of morning coffee has settled beneath the night sky. The traffic has faded, the conversations have ended, tomorrow is waiting just beyond the darkness, and our day in Detroit has come to an end. Some places don't survive, but they're never really gone. They live on in photographs tucked away in drawers, in old family stories told across generations, in songs, sounds, and memories that refuse to fade. Most of all, they live on in the people who remember them. Thank you for walking through this day with me. If this journey brought back a memory, leave a comment and share what it reminded you of. Maybe it was a neighborhood, maybe it was a favorite store, maybe it was simply a feeling you haven't visited in years. And if you enjoy preserving these forgotten moments of everyday America, subscribe to The Way We Were so we can continue exploring them together. The past is never as far away as it seems. Sometimes it is waiting in the sound of a screen door. Sometimes it is hiding beneath the glow of an old neon sign, and sometimes it is found in an ordinary day that once felt completely unremarkable until we look back. Which place should we walk through next?